Well, Snow White flopped. It flopped epically. It flopped historically. It's already out of theaters where I live, and it hasn't even been 6 weeks. And as far as I understand, it's actually broken records for how much money Disney has lost on a single film. I don't think I've ever seen such a big budget movie on this scale get so unanimously vetoed by the entire public. Film lovers have boycotted the movie because its premise is a desecration of a culturally beloved work of art. Parents have boycotted the film because the trailer gave their kids nightmares. Oh my god! Disney adults have boycotted the movie for literally removing the most iconic song in the history of Disney.
Someday my prince will come.
Leftists have boycotted the film because Gal Gadot, and I'll try to be charitable here, has used her platform to repeatedly All Lives Matter the genocide in Gaza. The entire Middle East boycotted the movie because Gadot joined the Israeli military when she was 20. The MAGA crowd boycotted the movie because Rachel Zegler said this.
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
Conservatives in general boycotted the movie because they care deeply about historical accuracy. There's definitely nothing racist going on about that. I didn't even know why you brought that up.
The description of the character is skin as white as snow. The name of the movie is Snow White, okay? A brown person is bad.
So who's left exactly? It would be shorter to make a list of who has not boycotted this film. People who have never seen the original are obviously not gonna give a freaking hoot about a remake. And folks who have childhood nostalgia for the original look like this. Oh, I love it when cynical nostalgia marketing backfires. Mwah, that's a tasty souffle. Hundreds of millions have been lost, and it is now time for people to start pointing fingers. And the consensus online seems to be this one interview with Rachel Zegler.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
See, there's been a recent development in people's relationship to entertainment. Old stories are now the only ones in demand, but in an effort to market them to younger generations with more progressive politics, the elements that don't align with those politics are being strategically edited out. It's Willy Wonka without the fat shaming. It's Dr. Seuss without the Asian stereotype. It's Huck Finn now without the slurs. It's Fantasia without the subtle racism. Christmas came early. And next year, mark my words, we'll get It's Harry Potter
without the tacit endorsement of slavery, the embarrassing ethnic names, the child abuse, the child endangerment, the fat shaming, and the anti-Semitic long-nosed goblin bankers. Turfism sold separately.
Get it today. This is actually the thinking that led to that signature song being removed. They changed the storyline to be less chauvinistic and give the female protagonist more plot agency.
That is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
And then they realized, wait, the song is literally called Someday My Prince Will Come. How do we still use that? We already used the melody in the trailer. Fuck! It's fine. Just book more reshoots. We'll make it instrumental, okay? There's $500 million on the line and the shareholders are expecting results! Oh no. We are witnessing an era of media that is defined by this tension. It's the rock and hard place that emerges when nothing gets funded unless it has pre-established brand recognition, but the public's expectations that the story conform to their own values is at an all-time high. And all this led me to the question, how well does the original 1937 film hold up, politically speaking? So is it true that Snow White is an inherently sexist story? Well, you might actually be surprised to find out that, yeah, 100% it is extremely sexist.
Fuck the patriarchy.
And fuck
Disney's objectification of women.
Have a terrific day.
She is a damsel that needs a man or dwarf to save her. She does spend a lot of the movie doing chores. The villain is a wicked woman that is overcome with hysterical jealousy over looks.
Suck it, Bechdel test.
And the entire plot is, a thing happens to Snow White. Never Snow White does a thing. And all this brings us to Abe Lincoln. Bear with me. I'm now going to say something that is just a fact. Old Honest Abe was a viciously racist person.
Lincoln in no way believed that the black man should ever be considered equal to the white man.
So why don't we tear down his statue? Well, obviously, because as monstrous as his values are by today's standards, he was instrumental in moving society's values in a positive direction. So history will always look kindly upon him, despite statements like this. So with that in mind, what if I told you that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, almost 100 years ago, moved the values of that folktale in a positive direction?
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer
1822. I want to point some things out. Number one, Snow White in the 1812 Brothers Grimm version that Disney adapted the story from was 7 years old when her beauty surpassed that of the queen. So to all those people complaining about the lack of accuracy to the original story because of the casting of Rachel Zegler, the literal Antichrist, an actually accurate casting of the part of Snow White would look like this. You sure you want to go down this road, fellas? If you're ever dating a woman and she looks at a 7-year-old and goes, is she prettier than me? You are dating an evil queen, and frankly, you deserve better. Number two, the scene at the start where Snow White and the prince first meet and fall in love was actually added in for the Disney version. Their meet cute moment in the book was the prince stumbling upon her corpse in the forest on a hunting trip. Oh my God. He's like, oh la la. But wait, it gets worse. The prince was so infatuated with the beauty of this dead 7-year-old he found in the woods that he makes his servants carry her around everywhere he goes. But wait, it gets worse. One servant became so frustrated at having to drag her around everywhere that he opened up the coffin, lifted her upright, and said, "We are plagued the whole day long just because of such a dead girl." I don't know why he's gay. And hit her in the back, making her cough up the poison apple and come back to life. But still wait, it gets more worser. How do they defeat the evil queen? Well, come by the fire and have a seat on your old grandpa's lap for some story time, huh? They put a pair of iron shoes into the fire until they glowed, and the queen had to put them on and dance in them. Her feet were terribly burned, and she could not stop until she had danced herself to death. And they live happily ever after. Good night, Hans. Try to not have a nightmare about flaming shoes. Number three. While yes, there is an Andrew Tate fan in the 1937 version,
she's a female, and all females is poison.
Snow White makes fun of him to his face and gets a huge laugh.
Oh, you must be grumpy.
Crazy power move.
Women.
Snow White walked so Greta could run. I'm saying it.
Dwarfs' names fit their personalities. And old Sourpuss here is Grumpy, the woman hater.
As sexist as it is when you watch it now, the Disney version really did do a lot to remove the egregious objectification of the original folktale. She actually likes and wants the prince. Imagine that. You know, instead of waking up from a coma to a complete stranger that's already planned your wedding. Mother, since I adored her when dead and called her my wife, now I mean her to be my wife in truth. Whereas over here, you got Snow White using a bird to riz the 6'5" rich boy. I mean, talk about resourcefulness. Go get that bag, honey. There is a logic to changing old stories so that they don't teach bad values to children who just really want to enjoy them. And I do sympathize with that. And it's not a new thing either. When the Brothers Grimm were adapting the folklore into a formalized short story, they actually changed the evil queen from being Snow White's actual mother to merely a stepmom. So I understand this impulse to sanitize things, but give kids some credit. You can show them something problematic if you explain to them why it's wrong. I actually think that having that conversation is an opportunity to educate them, and that sheltering them from this type of messaging makes them more susceptible to it, not less. The only way to strengthen an immune system is to expose it to germs. Now, some of you might be thinking, how can you criticize the new version for editing the values of an old story, yet applaud the original for removing the really egregious elements from the book? Well, it's pretty simple. The omissions in the 1937 version were not made as a marketing decision. The story was changed based on the personal tastes of the one authoring the adaptation. The Grimm brothers did not change the villain to a stepmother because they were trying to dodge Twitter outrage. They did it because they personally viewed motherhood as a highly sacred thing. By extension, Disney didn't add this scene to avoid alienating a female demographic. He added it because making the relationship less one-sided makes it more romantic. And Walt Disney was, if nothing else, a romantic. The new one does not suck because there's something inherently wrong with girl bossifying folklore. I'm obviously a proponent of that. It sucks because it wasn't done as an actual expression of the values of the writer. It was done as a cynical attempt to avoid criticism, covering your ass. Problem is, most people have a bullshit detector. And when they see art that is just desperately trying to twist itself into whatever shape it thinks the audience might want, they disengage. See, art is about people connecting with each other. Its power is in its unique ability to make a complete stranger feel your thoughts in your soul. And this performative dance that Disney has been doing for the last decade is impossible to engage with sincerely. It's like being in a conversation where you ask someone, hey man, what's your favorite genre of music? And they go, whatever your favorite genre of music is, jazz? Oh, I hate jazz. Oh my God, me too. So many notes, right? The fuck are you doing? How can anyone be expected to identify with a story if the story has no identity? These are not films that inspire. Their highest aspiration is to placate. But I don't want to be placated. Listen, I'm as left-leaning as the next neurospicy cross-dresser, okay? It's pretty inevitable. And yet, a lot of my favorite movies are super conservative in their values. Am I gonna stop rewatching 300 anytime soon? No!
She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
The loudest voices reacting to this comment were obviously outrage merchants and embarrassing grifters. But I think a lot of reasonable folks felt a bit attacked when she said that. There is this light implication that if you fantasize about being swept off your feet by a dashing prince, you're not being a very good feminist. I find it a very finger-waggy way of consuming media. I mean, I want to be the fairest woman in all the land. Does that make me a fucking sexist now? Isn't that an exhausting way to live, though? What if I don't want to be a leader? Is that okay? I'm not going to tell anyone how to live their life or what media to consume. But I promise you that your brain is smart enough to separate your problematic fantasies from your explicit beliefs. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is problematic. It's also beautiful. And that's okay. So for the love of God, stop making these things!